Okay, it is 3:30. We're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wrenching Yourself from the Jaws of Canon, creating and recreating personal history. Uh, I am going to not be able to read chat very much while I am giving the panel itself. Um, because I am going to be giving the panel. So, sorry if I miss you say something in chat. I promise we will talk at the end. So, what to expect from this panel? Who is this guy? Why is he here? What is he talking about? Jokes and introspection. As for who is this guy, I am Archmage Khadgar of the Kirin Tor, Lord of Nethergard, Keeper of the Eternal Watch, etc., etc. I just go by Khadgar, Khadgar Chromotath if you need a last name. Those of you familiar with Canon will know that is not my last name, and you will also know I don't sound like this, but unfortunately we can't all be as lucky as Canon Khadgar to be voiced by Tomi Amendola, the bastard. Tony, I miss you. As you can see, I have a variety of pronouns. When orcs give you pronouns, make lemonade. I don't care which of the pronouns you use for me. They're not in order of preference. You can mix it up. You cannot mix it up. I am, of course, from the Warcraft universe, best known in World of Warcraft. I diverged from canon fairly early on, while still being fairly canon typical up until that point. So why am I talking about this? Canon Me had an accident. He blew up. It's okay. He got better. He's fine, mostly. But thinking my canon self died a very terrible death was very upsetting, because I saw myself as him a little more than was healthy for me, personally. Even though I had almost no actual solid memories beyond a certain point, I just looked at the things he'd done and went, well, that seems like something I'd do, so I suppose that happened. But this made me think, do I have to be him? If I've been given nothing to work with, am I stuck guessing or making assumptions forever? Am I just dead now? Or can I choose to separate myself from him? And if so, how much? How far can I go? How far is too far? Well, my lovely assembled creatures, no amount of far is too far. Welcome to Khadgar's wild ride. Buckle in. Make life take the lemons back. You don't have to live with what you're given, whether that be something you hate or a big gaping void. You can do whatever you want forever. Make yourself something new. Rewrite it. Create it in the first place. I went back and diverted the timeline so dramatically that I can't possibly be Canon Khadgar because he doesn't have 3 beautiful adopted dragon children. So anything bad that happens to him isn't real and can't hurt me. Okay. Yes it can. But it hurts me less than it did when I got hit with, did I just fucking die? And this image I use as an emoji in nearly every server I am in. It is a great one. 10 out of 10. Okay, so what am I talking about? I'm talking about creating, recreating, reshaping, or otherwise altering your identity, or at the very least, your identity's history. For the sake of convenience, I will describe Noemata as history, or as your past. This is absolutely applicable for other temporal situations, but this is significantly easier, and trying to fit multiple tenses into a sentence is kind of a nightmare. Did I say it right, Poppy? Are you happy? Are you proud of me? Khadgar, what are Noemata? Noema, plural Noemata, pronounced however you damn well please, heart, typically refers to memories from your alter-human identity, which I will refer to as either your identity or your type, or other things you just know. If you know that you are a wolf with blue eyes and black fur, congratulations. That's as much Noemata as memories of fighting ninjas as Naruto. Sometimes you aren't blessed with an archive of Noemata. Sometimes you know who or what you are, and that's it. This can be a problem with alter humans of all kinds, but I'm mostly speaking as fiction folk myself, in a system of fiction folk predominantly fictives. It's very frustrating. Similarly difficult is having no imata you don't like. Unpleasant memories, the knowledge that you've done things you'd rather you hadn't, and generally just other things you don't like. If you've done something particularly unpleasant, whether or not you like it, and or if you're a villain of some type, might I recommend my headmate Goratrix's panel, Living with a Problematic Fictional Identity, and Where to Go From Here. He'll be posting that tomorrow. The panels are holding hands, maybe kissing a little. You know, if you want. No matter what, though, most alter humans end up reliant on their noimata to guide their experiences with their identity, and this is especially true of fictives. This can be extremely difficult if you're plagued by things you dislike, a yawning void, or even just empty gaps in your memory and questions left unanswered. People talk a lot about how to recover noimata, or in particular, past life memories, with a strong focus on making sure you do it right, to get real memories, and not just wishful thinking that your brain made up. Are you all being gay in the chat about our panels? I can see it out of the corner of my eye. Anyway, this might be controversial, but so what if you do? What is real? Anyway, I mean it. If something your brain just comes up with to fill in a gap in your memory feels real enough to you and you're happy with it, why question if it's real or not? Is there any actual way to tell? Even if there was, does it matter? Identity is shaped by what you remember and believe about yourself and your experiences. Why would you dismiss something that you like just because you maybe made it up? Additionally, entirely voluntary identities exist. Just because someone chose to be a cat and came up with what that means, or even an entire history for that cat, doesn't mean that they're any less that cat than someone who's a cat involuntarily. You are no more valid because your memories came to you involuntarily. What you made up for yourself matters just as much. Take your past by the throat and do what you want. Just because an identity started involuntary doesn't mean it needs to stay that way. You can monkey with it, just like you can create an entirely new voluntary identity. What's stopping you from filling in the missing pieces? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You don't know what happened to your fictotype's brother? Sit down and figure it out. I like writing it like a fan fiction, personally. You can also write an outline, draw a comic, talk about it to a friend, or just think about it and come to a logical conclusion that you like and keep it to yourself if you'd rather. I did this in a really normal way. I sat down and sorted my memories into two categories: keep and discard. I ended up keeping everything except for one bad sexual decision I made in my teens, happens to many of us, and got rid of that because I didn't like it and it didn't feel significant to who I am now. Critically, I kept a lot of bad things that happened to me because I felt them necessary to explaining who I am. You don't need to do that if you don't want to. Then I asked myself, what am I missing? What do I need? How do I separate myself from canon? So I sat down and wrote a fanfiction series of very normal length about it that I'm still posting at the time of this panel. Make your own canon. By writing out my life from the moment of canon divergence onward, I was able to take firm control of my personal history and narrative, letting me control every aspect of it such that I could answer many questions in my life. How evil was Medivh? What happened to my birth family? Could I prevent many bad things that happened in canon if I had different information? I partially did this out of spite. I don't like canon. So I changed something very drastic early on. I adopted my oldest daughter, Prima, a young dragon. Two more adopted dragons followed. As a result, canon couldn't happen because I was so different. Look at my son. Thank you for looking at my son. So what about you? You can do this too. I had the advantage of having essentially no memories past a certain point, the point I chose to use as my divergence from canon. But let's say you aren't just filling in blank space. You have memories you don't like, you want to overwrite. Can you? Who's going to stop you? Me? The cops? You can do whatever you want forever. You can rationalize this however you want. The main ways I can think of are either that you're rewriting your history, literally changing it, or that you're going in and writing another timeline that you're choosing to identify with more strongly than the timeline you're originally from. We have a member of our system, Kyr, who has a few dozen sources and timelines he's from. They're all equally real and true for him. Why not you? Now, this sort of deep scrutiny and or rewriting can lead to deeper understanding. You understand yourself, the plot of the work your identity derives from or mirrors, and the other people in it far better when you dig into it like this. You have to understand other people / characters involved in events so that everything makes sense when you change major points. So by necessity, you will come to understand them. Don't stress about this. It'll happen. Sometimes this helps. When you're feeling distant from these people and you miss them, you can feel less lonely by working on this. In that moment, they are alive and present to you once more. However, if your system is anything like mine, you may need to watch out, because that's a recipe for new headmates. Or in my case, you wouldn't download a Medivh. Oops. I downloaded Medivh. Please look at this drawing we did to try to explain what Headspace felt like when Medivh showed up as an invisible, unidentifiable raven. This is real. This is the real drawing we did. We called him the Football until we managed to identify him because of this drawing. Don't worry about the rift. We still don't know what the fuck that was. I don't know. I don't know what that was. I don't know how Medivh got here. For those unaware, Medivh is my partner. He's leaning over my shoulder. He's pretending to be helpful. So watch out for all that, I guess. Anyway. Does this whole thing only work for fiction folk? I don't see any difference between a fictive doing this and someone who's, say, Dragonkin. Reconstruct that language you barely remember. Do some speculative biology on your fantasy species. Pick a specific forest that your wolf stereotype is from. This is no less valid than sitting down and meditating for your true memories, in my opinion. Depending on the origin of your identity, that might not even be an applicable concept. Again, if a fully voluntary identity is something you can integrate, why not voluntary aspects to an otherwise involuntary identity? Seize control. Change whatever you want. Fill in any holes that bother you. You are not bound to the whims of the universe or your brain. What if I remember something later that contradicts what I came up with? You're allowed to be wrong and integrate it later. I won't snitch. You don't have to tell anyone. It could just be a different timeline. You can throw it in the garbage if you don't like it. It's a tool for your toolbox. It's a fantastic tool for answering questions that eat at you, connecting disconnected noemata, and giving yourself connections, desires, and a backing of memory to lean on. It's very helpful if your source is fragmentary or lost, such as old stories or myths. It's reduced my distress significantly and taken me from barely fronting in a year and a half to becoming a co-host for my system and fronting for a year straight because I love being up front. I love being alive. I love being me. Most of all, I love being the me I chose to be. I used to tolerate myself, but now I wake up every day excited to be me. And if you're happy with who you are and what you have, that's great. You don't have to use this tool. I just want you to have it in case you ever need it. I think too many people are afraid of having fake identities and fake memories, and they need this hammer in their toolbox to knock the wall of fear down to let them be who they want to be. But how? You have to let yourself make what you change or create real. It has to be real and true to you. You have to make something that feels right, that feels genuine. It doesn't have to match canon or your memories, but it has to be something that feels good or true. If you struggle with this, that's okay. Keep trying. My recommendation is to make some art about it, whether that be visual, writing, music, or something else. Remember that identity is a part of you, so let it serve you well. And forgive me if I don't remember the Tumblr post where I saw this phrase first, but Let yourself live more beautifully the second time. As for my conclusion, my original outline contained the text, I do a cool kickflip on my metaphorical skateboard that makes people shout, "Go, Grandpa, go!" Say something really inspiring and wrap everything up in a nice conclusion that has people cheering and sends them out happy and introspective. I open my wallet and pictures of my children fall out. Okay, thank you all for shouting, "Go, Grandpa, go!" It helps me. It hypes me up. And art credits. Official art by Blizzard Entertainment, of course. Unofficial art by Dear Ronnie in chat. And special thanks to my partner Medivh, who was no help at all. He's on the left, I'm on the right. He's of no help. I'm a lot of help. You be quiet, please. My hour. Thank you. Thank you, sweetheart. I love you. Yes, thank you, old man Yowie. That's me. Okay. Let me out. Oh, let me out of my slideshow. Help. Okay, there we go. Okay. So, who wants to do a Q&A? You can send questions into the panel questions chat. And I would love to try to answer some of them. And while I wait for those to roll in, quick, you're getting an ad in the middle of your panel. If you are Warcraft fiction folk of any type, if you're a source mate or you have Azeroth as a heart home or anything, I have a server for that. You can search in advertisements. You can just control F Warcraft and you can find it. Please join. Come hang out with me. I'd love to talk to you. I want to hear about it. If you're like, oh, do I count? You probably count. Please join. We can hang out after the panel. Okay, that's my advertisement. See, I'm not even trying to sell you anything. I don't even want your money. Yeah, we were talking about orcs. It was a great time. Come talk about orcs with us. You wouldn't download an orc. Okay, Sage, aka Knuckles the Echidna, asks, would you recommend doing this for someone's current life as well? Why or why not? As in the current life you're living kind of in the body you have at the moment, kind of the life in this sort of reality we're all sharing. I don't have the degree required to answer this question. I feel like that is a conversation to have with a therapist. There are therapy tools that are not dissimilar to this to help you reframe things that have happened in your life. I do not feel comfortable recommending it in this context without having any knowledge of psychology. I have a degree in creative writing. So let's see. Loretta asks, slightly weird question I don't know if you'll have an answer for. I happen to have secret knowledge that you've written some AUs of yourselves. Yes, we have. How do you decide what AUs to play with? I've been thinking about writing some AU fic for myself for fun, but I'm not sure entirely where to start, and I'm curious if you have particular methods or if yours were just ideas that came to you like visions from an angry god. So most of them are visions that came to us through Medivh. Because I love him, but he has something wrong with him, and I say this with all the love in my heart. I married him. There's something wrong with him. We also have an obsession with dragons, so the dragon AU is obvious. But honestly, it kind of comes from the desire to play with our fictionalized selves like dolls, and kind of exploring how things could have gone differently. So I guess, how do you decide what AUs to play with? The ones I like. Just the ones I really, really like. How do you come up with ideas? The same way you come up with ideas for any fanfiction, I would say. Zero Shield asks, how do you cope with painful memories that rise unbidden? Once I recognize them, and in some cases get out of the shift that brought them on, I can process them, but do you have any tips on handling them in the moment they jump scare you? Okay. My tip for this is to take deep breaths. Do any kind of grounding exercises that you have because it can be very alarming and it can feel like a gut punch. You need to ground yourself and remember who and where you are right now. And then to work through the wave after, I would recommend honestly just immediately either processing it if that's what works best for you, or what I do is I go and I sit with a friend. I might talk about it, but I usually don't until I've had a little bit of time to chew on it. That first gut punch is very difficult and there's little you can do to mitigate it. But the aftermath is when I at least kind of tend to spiral a little bit, and avoiding that at all costs is vital. So, friends, company. It's hard for your brain to really fixate on something, get really upset when there's someone saying something silly. Unimportant slash silly question. Could I see your son again? Of course you can see my son again. Hang on. I think I have I'm on the wrong computer for the other one, but I have the colored one. I'm putting him in the panel chat. There's my son again. Yes. Yes, Ronnie, if you can haul out the pictures of my children again, I'd appreciate it because I don't have them on my laptop. Since I'm a Warcraft lore nerd, I'm curious to know about your adopted dragon. What flights are they from? I only recognize Rathian. Prima is a chromatic dragon. For everyone else, she was a lab experiment. And Goriana is a Twilight dragon. She's actually a canon character. She's a raid boss in Dragon Soul. She canonically flies off and is never seen again, so I decided I would adopt her. Prima we made up, and then she moved in. You wouldn't download a daughter. I did. Let's see. Waylon? I hope I pronounced that right. What was a key point for you mentally when you switched from the belief that you had to adhere to canon to the belief that you could do whatever you want forever? I'm sorry to report I didn't have a point like that. I entered a system that has been very canon divergent from the beginning, so I popped in and knew I didn't have to adhere to canon. It just for the first year and a half or so, I just kind of vaguely did because I had no canon divergent memory, so I went, well, I guess I'm that guy, exactly as written. Um, and then I thought he died, and I decided I couldn't be that guy because I didn't want to be dead. It sounds kind of stupid when put that way, but I didn't want to be dead. House of Chimeras asks, Ocean has thoughts of writing a fanfic over his partner's life. Since you've written and published your writing online, what is your experiences with dealing with people reading it? Fans of that source, not being aware it's about an actual person. My fics do not get a lot of attention. The Warcraft fandom is very, very small. The fic writing fandom even smaller. The pairing I'm writing for, very small. So I've only gotten a few responses to it. But it's important to kind of remember that to other people, it's dolls, it's fiction. They have no concept that you are a person, and when they speak to you, you need to kind of disengage a little bit and reply to them as if you are also talking about fiction. It's not easy. Um, but it is something that can be done. Sometimes, if it's really difficult, I will let another headmate handle it. It's like, well, Tremere can be our singlet Sona for the moment. Morgs hate this one weird trick to avoid death. Just don't. Just don't die. Just rewrite your whole life to not die. Foxtail Pip asks, a lot of memories we get are involuntary and upsetting but feel incredibly true. Any advice on working with a basis that feels like it has to be tragic in certain ways? Like it feels wrong or strange if certain headmates want to make up happier things? I know how that feels. I guess my advice is trying to find a way to process the bad things and find meaning in them and find something not just true, but something you can pull out of it that is happier. You can make up new, happier things that do not contradict or overwrite the tragic things. Sometimes in hours of darkness, you have to find whatever fireflies you can. Helios asks, what if your source just doesn't matter to you past existing as a basis for your personality? We have a few fictives who just have no respect for canon. They acknowledge they did dumb shit and say, well, I definitely wouldn't do it again, SMH. Because to me, that's basically what your panel was about. I mean, basically. I mean, if you have no respect for canon and you're just doing your own thing, you're doing your own thing. You've got it sorted out. You don't need me to tell you that. I think you've got it handled. Let's see. Unknown asks, what if all your memories are too scattered? How would you know what identity to start with? So there's no right or wrong answer with that. You start with whatever you feel best to start with, whether that be whatever's most solid, whatever feels best to you, whatever you feel is going to be easiest, whatever you want. I'm sorry I don't really have a better answer to that, but there isn't really a wrong answer. Kestrel asks, any tips on quote unquote having it be true and real and not just interesting fiction writing that happens to star yourself, to simply not feel like you're an outsider to your own story? It's hard. You have to really sit down and take a look at your own life and ask yourself how you wish things had gone different and believe you can make them different now. You couldn't then, but you can now. Swiftpaw asks, do you have any tips for handling shame or self-consciousness with doing writing involving yourselves/identities, especially with headmates get involved? Before we realized we were a system and got all the baggage that comes with entering that community, we used to do a lot more self-insert writings with each other, but stopped doing that after the self-doubt set in. What are people going to do? Stop you? Are they cops? It's hard to get over this shame or self-consciousness, but my best recommendation is to just do it. You have to do it scared, you have to do it ashamed, you have to do it self-conscious. By pushing forward, you will eventually find a point in which it no longer feels strange. And if people don't like it, block them. Fuck them. Why? Don't care about what they think. Which I know is not very useful advice. That's what my therapist tells me. It's like, oh, just don't care what people think. Okay, but I do. As for how to stop caring about what people think, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm still working on it. Let's see. That's a story. Queen Sectonia asks, do you have any advice for making conlang/similar world building from your source? So, conlangs, I did do some reconstructive work on Orcish to figure out my pronouns, because Orcish didn't have any pronouns on the wiki because Blizzard are a bunch of hacks. It was a lot of work and I didn't like it. I'm no good at making conlangs. As for world building in general, I would say, I mean, sit down with it, look at the holes in it, look at what you're given and ask yourself what makes sense, what needs to be changed, what are the implications of this thing. Yeah, Ronnie's advice in chat, I don't know if you see it, is to learn a conlang first. They say learning Navi gave me a huge advantage in understanding how to build my own conlang. Paige asks, what do you do when your source is something that most people collectively discourage any participation regarding or towards because they find the acknowledgement of it and are interacting with it in any capacity to be actively harmful? Like Harry Potter, for example. Our systemmate Dash has tried doing this in the past but drew away from it because of this reason. First of all, I'm so sorry. I know someone else from Harry Potter. Very difficult. I mean, I'd say do it anyway. If you need to keep it to yourself or just keep it to friends who are going to understand, fine. I you can put it out there, but and you're going to need to block people who are mean about it. I mean, it's the same as anything else controversial, I'm afraid. And again, if doing it publicly, you consider it harmful, I'd say do it privately with people. You are not giving J.K. Rowling money by being from Harry Potter and writing about your version of canon in your friend group. It's not your fault. You can't help it. um, and J.K.R. can kick rocks. Starley asks, I have a question. What do you do if a character you're kind of stuck with has fallen into a bad habit, such as excessive drinking? Like, as in this problem is affecting you and you also have the problem? I'd say, I guess, work on it the same way you would if it was your problem, not derived from any kind of fictional context. As for if you just don't like their bad habit, I mean, that depends on how you want to approach it, I guess. I'm sorry, I don't really know how to answer this one. Let's see. Hedgehog on the computer asks, do you have any recommendations on what to do about the anxiety that arises when if an artist of any kind happens to depict you in a way that literally nobody else could have possibly known unless they were there too? I'm not sure I'd want to approach them about it. It just freaks me out a lot sometimes. It's hard to shake off the feeling I was being watched by a higher presence or something. Okay. In this case, I would say take a deep breath. You are not being watched. You are not being observed. You're going to be okay. If an artist continually depicts you in a way that makes you uncomfortable in any way, I'd say probably block them for your own comfort. Whether they were there or not is, if you're not going to approach them about it, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend anyway, probably I don't want to say it's irrelevant. That sounds dismissive. It's not relevant to how to avoid the discomfort, I guess, is my point. Oof, I've not. Oh, I haven't. If anyone has advice for this, I'd love if you could give the Hedgehog some advice here, because I run into artists who don't know how to draw me. I mean, the Canon artists don't know how to draw me. They keep drawing me as a redhead. I've never had red hair. Canpio, I hope I pronounced that correctly, asks, do you feel that writing AUs has brought up spontaneous memories that you wouldn't have otherwise recalled? Would you recommend it as a method of exploring one's original timelines? So I haven't had that experience, because I just have absolutely dogshit memory, and I've just kind of had to sit down and make things. As a method of exploring one's original timeline, honestly, not a bad idea. I assume people could get spontaneous memories that way, and it's a very safe way of exploring yourself without necessarily prodding things that are a little too sensitive or that you feel too strongly about. It doesn't have to be right because it's an AU, and it gives you a chance to kind of splash around and figure things out. Do, 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 do. Oh, Starley clarifies it's more, I'm watching a friend of mine drink themselves due to their guilt. Uh, I I don't think I'm equipped to answer this question. I'm sorry. That feels like a question to ask someone who maybe has some kind of professional backing. Glitter Pigeon asks, how do you avoid cultural appropriation slash similar with a fictional identity and a character slash species that took inspiration from a culture you aren't a part of? That is a thorny question. Um, oof. I would say it's fine to take inspiration from cultures is the thing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with writing about a culture or taking inspiration from it. To a certain extent, I don't know your situation. Everyone's line for what is inspiration, respect, and appropriation is different. Um, I'd say just be respectful. Do your research. If something is closed, then don't, mess with it too much. But the problem is if you have a fictional identity in a culture, it's complicated. This could lead into 500 years of war and a big argument. It's unfortunately not something I have a lot of familiarity with because I'm from like a fake like idea of what Western Europe was like if there were wizards. I feel like we need an anthropologist to answer this question, and we only minored in it. Let's see. Jay asks, "Oh man, as someone who has so many fictives, they're all similar to fiction kind, but a lot of the time they have habits from canon and sometimes not. Trying to figure out what pseudo memories come from where is an extremely hard process. Some align quite a lot with canon, but sometimes they don't. What would you say causes that? How would others approach this?" Um, I mean, I'd say you might have kind of multiple timelines going on, or maybe you're canon divergent, but not in a complete and total way. I honestly don't know enough about how your system works and how your memory works to answer that question for sure. I think that's definitely a conversation to kind of have in on the con floor with a bunch of people kind of weighing in. Um, Despite my best efforts, I am not the fictive king, and I don't know everything. I try very hard though. Sam asks, "Do you have any advice for headmates from a popular source in dealing with the differences for them, such as an excess of content that could be triggering? Block people. I If people are making content that upsets you or triggers you, block them. Even if they're nice, even if they've done nothing wrong, blocking is a tool with which to keep yourself comfortable. It is not a moral judgment. Popular sources are very, very difficult. I'm very, very sorry for everything you've had to go through because of having a popular source. Um, but I would say just avoid anything that makes you uncomfortable. You you just have to take care of yourself. Ivory asks, so what do you do if you have nothing but you want to start finding history behind yourself? By nothing I mean no story, no game, nothing. We have a headmate like this research who kind of started with nothing. He eventually found a kintype, but that doesn't really give him much backing in a way that he feels is very solid. I don't have a lot to give you here other than go out there, find interests, make friends, do things. You might not have a history if you have nothing to go on. Maybe you do, but you can't focus on it. You have to focus on who you are here and now, and maybe something will come to you. Sam says, follow up question, any tips for coping when digging into exo memories? Be very careful. Have friends to talk about it with, because sometimes you will find things that are upsetting. I really, really, really cannot recommend highly enough having friends, especially source mates who get it. Who really, you don't have to explain the context, you don't have to explain the story, they were there, they get it. Um, to talk to about this because it really helps you work through things, process it, and it seems less scary when you have friends. Thank you for all the nice things you guys have been saying. I haven't been able to keep up with the regular panel chat very much, but Okay, glitter pigeon. Let's see. Species isn't self-appropriative, but I worry about IDing as it. Identifying as something is not going to be cultural appropriation. You identify as it. Especially, I mean, you could argue about voluntary identities all day. I'm not going to get into that. But especially like an involuntary identity, I feel like people don't have any ground to stand on when it comes to saying you're appropriating it. I also, I have some opinions with voluntary identities. I think it's hard to culturally appropriate when you are trying to identify with and understand something, but I don't want to start a whole discourse in the chat. So I'll take Funky Grandpa. You can say that. That's fine. Let's see. Scrolling through chat. Oh, no, Discord. No, Discord. Oh, this program. I'm too old for this. Discord hates Wizard Grandpa. Again, if anyone is Warcraft fiction folk, I've now linked back to my advertisement for the server if you want to join a hangout. I'm going to do this every time there's a delay in questions. I'm going to just start advertising. Please come hang out with me. Yeah, no, it's not impossible to be shitty about culture. It's just when you're trying to be, I feel like if you're doing something or just simply existing in a way that's respectful, I feel like that's not inherently an issue. But it is very easy to be shitty about culture. I think this should be the two morals of my panel are you can do whatever you want forever and don't be shitty. Following canon use tradition, I'll pay you 5 gold to talk to me. I am famous for giving quests for you to go do something and then talk to me immediately. Please talk to me. I'd love to talk to you. Oh, panel questions. Is there a question? Was the Discord server source specific or for heart homes in general? I missed that part. It's source specific. You can read the advertisement for it for better clarification. Poppy, yes. Yes. In panel questions, yes. I'm not Warcraft fiction folk, but I would also like to hang out. Is there another place you are? You can. I'm in a few servers. You can message me. I'm in Other Connect. I don't talk much. I get very overwhelmed there. Am I in any other like open but like smaller chats that I talk? Not really. I'm sorry. I like to talk, but I have a hard time keeping up with really big, really active servers. But please just feel free to message me. It's fine. I think this grandpa just likes to talk. You are correct. Learning that in wrenching oneself from the jaws of Canon, I, as the creator of my headmates, can be the jaws of Canon for them. Well, maybe they can do a little bit of wrenching in like a nice way. Most Canon is written by people that don't know the people coming out of it per se. I technically fall under Warcraft fiction folk, even though I don't have a fiction kin identity in particular. You don't need a fiction kin identity. If you're Warcraft fiction folk, you can join if you want. That's fine. I don't really have a canon, but I'm reclaiming my source to make it gayer than the source people would like. Based. Yes, Ronnie, you're right. It is for All fiction folk. I'm doing my best to keep up with chat. I'm sorry. There's so many people. We got up into the 80s of people. Dude, I'm in my own personal fandom of myself, and I'm the blurbo who gets put into the blender. Are you having fun putting yourself in the blender? Is the blender nice? My canon now. So true. To make a canon gayer, that sounds cool as hell. You're so right. I'm glad you're having fun in the blender. Yes, this panel was recorded. I believe multiple people are recording it. So it will be up on YouTube. You'll be able to see the whole thing. And even if something happens, the original version that I presented at the Centaurus Festival last year is up on that YouTube, but it's missing some pieces because I made this better, like the you wouldn't download a Medivh section. That's new. My canon now is so true as a Star Wars fiction folk. My condolences in a few ways, but also that's really cool. Making my canon more trans. Perfect. Let's see, panel questions. Thinking out loud, okay. I love my panels because this panel is so much shorter than what Goretrix does. Like he talks for much longer than I do. And then he doesn't have much time for questions. And then I talk for 15 minutes. I have 45 minutes to talk to everyone, and it is so much fun. I have so much fun answering questions and just talking to people. I want to do this all the time. I love doing panels. I love the Q&A. We get to hang out. I sit down and hang out with 80 people. Somehow this isn't overwhelming. Ooh, more panel questions. Jay asks, how can you figure out if you and a friend or a headmate have different canons for certain? For example, my fighting headmates have 3 different canon timelines so far. The worlds they hail from each have differences, different histories, but they all know basic things. Things that are always undeniably in canon. A lot of times this can create some sadness in not having shared memories or perfectly shared canons. They wish to create an understanding of the world that others can understand without that difficulty of it basically being headcanon to be taken seriously. What would you recommend for breaking that boundary to almost merge ideas of what the world can be or to bridge differences between different homeworlds that hail from the same canon? That sounds like a very big world building project, my friend, where you have to sit down and sort out the differences and make everything either line up or some people are going to have to alter histories to compromise to match other people's more carefully. I will, however, also raise the point of we have multiple Vampire the Masquerade vampires from different timelines, and they don't feel the need to share the timeline perfectly because sometimes things are just different and that's all right. So I guess there's a lot of work to be done either way, in either just accepting the situation you're in or sorting things out. I'm afraid I don't really have a lot of very specific suggestions since I don't know the source in question. That feels like something to maybe sit down with some friends familiar with the concept about, or just anyone familiar with the concept, to kind of bounce ideas between. Let's see. Rye/Leon asks, we've been feeling overwhelmed lately with the feeling that we've been almost every character in a source at some point. Some things in canon feel right, while with others we feel like our lives diverged. And sometimes we feel like we've experienced multiple timelines with the same character. We're not sure if you'd have any advice for navigating that, but it's been rough. Like, how do we not feel fake for having so many kin types from one source? We feel like this level of second guessing has been normalized in the community. Okay, so my first advice is fuck anyone that tells you that you're fake for having so many kin types from one source. Block them, don't talk to them. You don't need to deal with that. Second, only you know your experiences. You feel and experience things the way that you do. Therefore, it is real to you. You're only faking something if you sit down in the morning and go, I'm going to fake an identity. You can't accidentally fake something. Try to internalize that. I know it's difficult. You cannot accidentally fake something. You can't be fake unless you are trying to be. You can be wrong, but you can't be fake. Poppy asks, when can we have a panel where we show off our kids? When you organize one. Let's see. Everyone's talking about their kids. I love your kids. Jay asks, would you say it's best to call them separate timelines? They're all different canons with the same source. I feel like that could be a good compromise. I agree. I think that's a really good compromise. I think separate timelines is a good way to put it. Because then it kind of feels like they're still all kind of wrapped up in one thing while still being distinct. Foxtail Pip says, silly humor question. What if you make up fun stuff first, now you have more people, then you make new stuff, then you have more people, then you get trapped in an endless cycle of creation like a god of fiction in the web of stories. That sounds awesome. And I think that's ideal. I feel like not caring about being wrong is kind of a prerequisite to this practice. Yes, I would agree. And if you do care about being wrong, spend some time and try to remind yourself it is not a bad thing to be wrong. It is not a moral failing. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. No one's going to stop you. People are wrong all the time. There's no failing in that. That's just how it is. Being wrong is a chance for growth. Ooh. Scrolling back the chat. Man, why do I have to do everything? Because you propose it, Poppy. A show off and talk about our families panel sounds fun. It kind of does. It's like Medea's Fiction Folk Roundup he did at the Centaurus Festival. It's like, show off your kids. I was wrong about my identity like 5 times. It's okay. See? No one killed them. So you're saying the entire Ultrahuman community isn't going to knock on my door with pitchforks and torches and burn down my vegetable garden because I was wrong about a memory in my head. No one is going to do that. I absolutely promise the only one who's going to care that you were wrong is you. Everyone's going to go, oh, okay, different now, and then move on. If tomorrow Jude, who has done all this work on being, reclaiming, like, becoming a human and all this, that, and everything, if tomorrow Jude rocked up and said, actually, I'm a ferret, I'd be like, that's really cool. Please tell me about how you came to that conclusion. And they very famously are not a ferret. Yeah, your ferret, your days are numbered. You're a ferret tomorrow. My ferret beam. You wouldn't download a ferret. In addition to it's okay to be wrong, it's also okay to find out that your identity was a phase. Yes. Yes. It's okay if something's temporary. Temporary is still important. Goretrex and Raphael, my headmates, did a whole panel on this. Whatever the hell they called it. I think it was sometimes an angel dragon is a griffin. Tips for engaging with headmates who have conflicting canons or who participate in fandom with headcanons that contradict your canon a lot. I'd say the same way that you engage with headmates from completely different, sources. they don't affect you, you don't affect them, you're just so different that you're going to have totally different experiences, and that's okay. I love that everyone's just showing their children now. You're all downloading the ferrets as fast as possible. Pigeon asks if there's time, any advice for dealing with fandoms that are aggressive about wrong wrong headcanons and fanonization. I'm over it, but still kind of sucks for someone I've become very close to. Um, Block people aggressively. Oh, are you being aggressive at my headcanon? Blocked. Or being mean to me? Blocked. You also don't have to share things publicly if you find that it's just too much work to deal with everyone being mean about it. Because sometimes blocking just isn't enough because it is literally everybody. But it does suck. There is a limit to what you can do. You can't control other people's behavior. Vex says, I said this earlier in a different panel, but it's not worth seeking validation from people you wouldn't even want to be acquaintances with. Just block them. Yep. Yep, agreed. Just block them. If you don't want to talk to someone, why do you care about their opinions? Don't try to make them like you. Throw the whole man away. God, I've been completely forgetting to drink anything. I've just been talking. No wonder I'm dying. Everyone take a sip of your drink right now, please. Hydrate. Yeah, Blair follows that up. If someone is willing to be so reactionary and aggressive towards you for something that might not even be a part of your identity, then their opinion doesn't matter. Yeah. If someone's going to be reactionary and aggressive, don't deal with them. They're not worth it. Either they'll learn to get along with people, or they're going to be kicked out of every space they're in for being aggressive. Yeah, fuck them. I love panels like this where we end up just chatting. Yes. When I sit down to make a panel, I want to present a topic. I want to teach everyone something. I want to give you something to think about. And then I want to just talk about it. I just want to sit and talk, and if the conversation moves around a little bit, that's fine. I think it's good for cons to have panels where some of the time is devoted to just sitting and talking. That being said, I believe we are at the end of our time slot here. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. But thank you all so much for coming to my panel. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something. I hope this is a good tool for your toolbox. Um, and if you want to talk any further, I will be around OtherCon. I'm in OtherConnect. If you see a conversation you want me in OtherConnect and I'm just not fucking there, please feel free to ping the Draconic Wizard Workshop. Drop me a message. We're on Dreamwith. We're on Tumblr. We're, of course, on Discord. We're very open to chatting. Please feel free. And thank you all for attending. Oh, you're all so sweet. All right, and I will see you around the con, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow at Goratrix's panel, where his voice is going to sound much smoother and more steady than mine, but also more afflicted by allergies. All right, I'll see you around.